beautiful late summer day in Arlington, Texas, and a pair of postseason hopefuls squaring off in the midst of a crowded American League wildcard race. Fox Saturday Baseball brings in the New York Yankees and the Texas Rangers. And there it is. With 22 games left in the regular season, the Yankees have a game-and-a-half advantage over Minnesota. The Twins have the second wild card, but there are a handful of teams, including the Texas Rangers, hot on their heels on this day of the schedule. With that, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth with John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal with us as well. It was the Texas Rangers that took the opener yesterday, John, an 11-5 big offensive-minded win for Jeff Bannister's bunch, and they won yesterday with a very familiar formula. A lot of offense and one particular veteran leading the way.
Yeah, it's been a strange year, but it hasn't been a strange year for Elvis Andrus. He has lived up to the potential that once was thought about. Now in his 9th season, he's having an MVP season, and he delivered last night with the go-ahead RBIs, but he's been doing it in every category. Offensively, you think the Texas Rangers are going to hit, and they have in the second half, but it's been Elvis Andrus because the absence of Beltre, Andrus has picked up the slack and carried this team, and they have to have offense to get to the postseason.
Rangers not likely to count on the same kind of offense in this one today because they're dealing with the American League's ERA leader in the second half of the season, Luis Severino, on the mound for the Yankees.
Severino's been awesome. One blip in his second half, and that was against the Boston Red Sox where he gave up 10 runs, 8 earned. But he is their ace, and he is the guy that is going to pitch the biggest games. If they get in the postseason and make a long run, it's going to be in the arm of Luis Severino. He's having a Cy Young type season minus that one bad game.
Well, if you're a fan of the long ball, these two teams have not disappointed. And with the likes of Aaron Judge and Joey Gallo leading the way, the Rangers and Yankees score a lot of runs via the homer. Game 2 of their 3-game weekend set to come. Lineups in the opening pitch are next. And welcome back to Globe Life Park on a beautiful afternoon for baseball. Almost unseasonably pleasant in the Arlington area this afternoon. A very nice 79 degrees. Middle game of a 3-game series between a couple of postseason hopefuls on tap. Back with Ken Rosenthal and John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. We posted the wild card picture for you. We're talking all about that ever-changing story throughout the telecast today. And with 22 games left, it is still a wide open race in the American League wild card picture, including for the top spot. Joe Girardi's Yankees have held it for a while, but nobody's resting on their laurels with that lead, because there are just too many teams involved and too many scenarios to play out over the next 3 weeks before anybody can consider themselves a lock for the postseason.
It's been a strange second half. Teams have gone in the other directions, traded away players, and are actually in the wild card. Minnesota being one, Texas being the other. Cashner on the mound having success here at home. He's going to have a hard time getting through the Yankees lineup, as is anybody who plays here. The ball jumps in this stadium, and Cashner has given up only 9 home runs here at home, but there's the lineup he's going against the Yankees.
Yeah, and if you want to circle the home run threat, certainly Sanchez and Judge stand out, but don't sleep on Didi Gregorius, who's hit a career best 21. Chase Headley's been resurgent since the break, and so has Jacoby Ellsbury, who's got a nice amount of 6-game hitting streak hot today. Todd Frazier and Greg Bird round out the Saturday lineup card for Joe Girardi, and both Jeff Bannister and Joe Girardi mindful of the fact that it was a long night yesterday, quick turnaround with a noon local time start today. None of that should matter for Andrew Cashner, who has been splendid over his last 10 starts.
Yeah, he really has. He's a no-nonsense pitcher. He basically comes right after the hitter. Fastball, sinker, occasional curveball, and changeup. He's not one of your prototypical strikeout guys this year. Strikeouts are down, but he's getting quicker outs. And being able to keep the ball in the ballpark is a huge part of this team's success, especially here. Offensively, Texas can score, so can the Rangers. And he's matching up against Severino, who you would think, as a opposing pitcher, you know you can't give up many runs against a guy like that.
Yeah, beyond not counting on huge offense, give us some more Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game today.
Well, 6, pick 6. I think 6 is the number for, especially for Severino. He's undefeated this year when his team has scored him 6. And the Rangers, not known for a ton of contact, but they're going to need contact against a strikeout pitcher if they're going to have any success against Severino. Yes, the long ball is part of what the Rangers offense makes them tick, but they're going to have to put the ball in play more today.
Brett Gardner ready to dig in and start things against Andrew Cashner here this afternoon. Gardner, Headley, and Sanchez as we await first pitch for the middle game of this series. Late arriving crowd today. It's kind of an unusual sports weekend in Arlington, given the New York versus Texas team theme. It's the first time ever that the Cowboys and Giants have squared off in this part of the world. At the same time, the Yankees and Rangers play that NFL matchup tomorrow across the street, and these two will wrap up their 3-game series on the same day. Brett Gardner on the second pitch of the game sprays an opposite field base hit into left field.
Trying to get himself going in the second half. You mentioned Ellsbury getting going. Sanchez definitely. Joe Girardi has taken this lineup and adjusted it a little bit. It's really revolving around Aaron Judge, as he's now down in the order, with Sanchez, Gregorius getting hot, and Castro coming back. I think Castro's the key to their offense. They missed him a lot.
Here's the switch hitting DH this afternoon, Chase Headley, who's hit in 7 straight, dealing with the leadoff hitter aboard to start the ball game. Headley up to 279 overall after a very slow April and May, and that's the second straight season that Chase has really had to work in the second half of the season to end the year with respectable numbers.
His second half has been much more enjoyable. A lot of talk about the corners for the Yankees, third and first. That's why they made moves. Bird's been out most of the year. Chase Headley has held his own.
Gary Sanchez waits on deck. One of the things to watch today is the picture that you just saw, and that's Brett Nicholas catching Andrew Cashner this afternoon. That's a combination that Jeff Bannister has not used very often. Robinson Chirinos, who has established himself as one of the veterans on this 2017 Texas team, getting the day off. And Chirinos has been the guy, John, credited with really kind of calming down and bringing Cashner to the next level. They've known each other for a long time, going back to their minor league days together.
Yeah, quick turnaround game. First game he's catching Cashner on the year. And certainly you want to connect early, and you don't want to have a lot of base runners.
Gardner runs, and Headley sends the ball into right center field. Coming on is Gomez, and he's there to make the catch and double off Gardner, who was easy pickings running on the pitch.
Gomez is a flashy player who loves doing what he does, and that's defensively, offensively. And Gardner made the commitment as he goes. He looks in, and now he's taken an opportunity to say, I think that ball's dropping in, but Gomez quickly covers center field, and an easy double play, and an unusual double play because Cashner can get the ball on the ground. He'll take it any way he can get it.
So 2 out, bases empty now. Much less threatening situation for one of the big home run threats in the Yankee lineup today, Gary Sanchez. 2 for 3 yesterday with a pair of RBIs in the 11-5 Rangers opening game win. For whatever reason, the Yankees have had a hard time getting on the board first this year, as Sanchez is jammed and he pops up to shortstop. So an inning that started out with promise for the Yankees ends with a double play ball and a pop-up, and a scoreless start to the game for Andrew Cashner. Lines his Texas Rangers against Luis Severino this afternoon. Delino DeShields has been hot over the last week. He leads off in left field. Shin-Soo Choo, Elvis Anderson, Nomar Mazara bat 2 through 4. Two-time All-Star Carlos Gomez also hot, batting over 300 the last week and a half. He's in center field hitting number 5. Joey Gallo, Will Middlebrooks, Rougned Odor, and the catcher Brett Nicholas line things out for the Rangers. And on the mound for the Yankees, their 23-year-old staff ace looking for his 13th win of the year this afternoon, Luis Severino.
Yeah, he's been dominant, and especially on the road. He's very comfortable on the road for a young pitcher. Those are great numbers. And if he looks at this lineup card, he's got some spots he can go to for strikeouts. That's why it's important for the Rangers to have the right men up when runners in scoring position. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup, and right-handers, he dominates. So they're going to have to face the left-handed approach. That's what Rangers managers had to make some adjustment, right? And he had to put in some left-handers because right-handers against Severino just don't have a very good opportunity for success.
Yeah, 5 left-handed hitters in the lineup this afternoon against Severino, who evens the count on Delino DeShields at a ball and a strike. Severino has been great all year, and perhaps we've said this a couple of times for him because you and I have watched a number of his starts this year, John. It seems like we've said it a half dozen times, coming off his best start of the year, as DeShields pops up for the left side of the infield, and there's one away. However, Sunday against the Red Sox, you could make a case that was one of his best. 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, did not walk a batter, was never in trouble in a breezy 9-2 victory on Sunday afternoon.
Well, the Rangers are going to have to get hittable counts. In other words, they cannot afford to get behind. When he gets 2 strikes on a hitter, he pretty much owns them. There's some hittable counts, 1-0, 2-0, that give the hitter a chance against Severino, but that's the ability to lock in.
Shin-Soo Choo picking on the first pitch and taking the ball to deep left center. Playable for Jacoby Ellsbury, however. 3 pitches and 2 quick outs for Severino to start his end of the first.
And I would imagine the Rangers watching enough video, that's the opportunity. First pitch fastball, see it, like it, and try to do something with it. Severino only has 3 pitches: slider, changeup, and fastball. He doesn't mess with a two-seam fastball. He just comes after it. Quiet mechanics. In the bullpen last year, struggled with a little consistency, and he is as good as it gets right now. Comfortable on the mound, and the hitters know what they're going to get when he's on top of his game.
So 2 gone, bases empty now for the man we profiled when we went on the air, the veteran shortstop, 2-time All-Star Elvis Andrus. He starts play in the midst of a modest 5-game hitting streak, 3 for 4, 3 runs batted in yesterday in what has been, without question, the finest year of his career. Behind 0-2. Elvis Andrus with the 20 home runs, the kind of total that grabs your attention, noting his previous season high had been 8. That's into the right center field gap. Ellsbury closing ground and making a fine diving finish. Didn't think anybody had a chance to get to that ball. Jacoby Ellsbury peeling back the calendar to his Gold Glove season of 2011 to make for a 1-2-3 first. NYA Insurance, Banking, and Investments tailored for the military community. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal. Matt Vasgersian in Arlington after Andrew Cashner and Luis Severino twirl scoreless firsts to start today. Here in the second, the Yankees have Gregorius, Castro, and Judge, the 4, 5, 6 batters here in the second inning. Didi Gregorius batting cleanup, a spot he has found himself in more often than not down the stretch. And why not for a guy in the midst of a career offensive year?
He's done a great job offensively, making the adjustments, not really caring if a left-hander's on the mound. He's done against right-handers. Off speed has been one of those feel good. The curveball, changeup, he stays back.
So that most impressive note, first Yankee shortstop to put together back-to-back 20 home run seasons. 21 this year, a career best. Certainly no longer considered a platoon player as he once was as a Cincinnati Red and Arizona Diamondback. Didn't play a lot against left-handed pitching, but as you mentioned, John, he's out there against left-handers every day as he is against the right-hander. Cashner's next offering is popped up. Andrus is under it. And there's one gone for Andrew Cashner in the second. You know, speaking of the 30-year-old Rangers starter today, at 9-9 and still with a handful of starts left, he's got an opportunity to finish the season with his best numbers ever. The timing is good given that he's going to be back on the free agent market this winter, Ken Rosenthal. And on that topic, he himself has said that he feels as good as he has physically in quite a long time.
Right, Matt, and that's the biggest thing with Cashner. I asked him yesterday, okay, why the turnaround? And he said it's mostly due to better health. First half of last season, strained neck, missed time with that. Strained left hamstring, missed time with that. The year before, he thought he actually pitched pretty well for the Padres, but he had a 4.34 ERA, in part because the team's defense was so poor. Now this year, he has the lowest strikeout rate of his career, but he says he's pitching to contact, taking advantage of the Rangers' defense.
In tight to Starlin Castro. And you know what else is happening for him, John, and you and I were marveling at these numbers here as Castro bats with one out. He's getting some offensive support this year for almost the first time in his career.
Yeah, I was going to suggest do something different. Change your underwear, change something that you're doing, because for the career numbers, 2-38 when the team scored him 2 runs or less. Now you expect to lose those games, but you don't expect that to be the most games in your career. 52 of the games they've done that, so he's been a little unlucky.
Just missed to make it 2-2 on Starlin Castro.
I mean, since I've been doing this and looking at these numbers, that's a great pitch on the outside part of them. I haven't seen a pitcher have that many tough luck losses.
Castro pops it to the right side of the infield for Odor, and there are 2 gone. Well, Kenny kind of alluded to this number, the diminishing strikeouts per 9 number for Andrew Cashner. And you know, talking to Jeff Bannister about that before the game today, it's in part by design. Andrew Cashner now at the age of 30 gets the efficiency part of pitching a little more than perhaps he did as a younger player coming up. He's looking for quicker outs, trying to increase his ground ball numbers, which really haven't risen that much with the drop in strikeouts. He's just been a little more efficient overall. Here's Aaron Judge now with 2 gone.
Well, you can see he can still throw hard, maybe not in the upper 98s like he used to. He's got a 4-seam, a 2-seam, above average changeup. He'll mess with that curveball every once in a while on a cutter. And there's the cutter version, or slider, whatever you want to call. But when you're facing a guy like Judge and you look at the map, you look at where his heat, where he's looking to put damage to the baseball, it's in the middle of the strike zone. You can go up, down, in, and out. And that's the one area that pitchers were enticed to make mistakes in the first half, and he crushed everybody. In the second half, he's expanded the zone and given pitchers a lot more opportunity to expose the swing and miss swing.
Counts 3 balls and no strikes to Aaron Judge. 105 walks for Judge, creeping up on a rookie record as he takes all the way to 3-1. Well, and this was said when Aaron Judge was so hot and rolling over the league in the first half. At some point, pitchers will adjust, and they have since the All-Star break, with more breaking balls like that tight little slider there. A full count now, 3-2.
But what's interesting is in the first half, I don't think a pitcher can make that pitch 3-1 because they're more nervous of what he's been doing. Now it seems like when a guy struggles, pitcher's confidence go up. They feel like they can attack a little bit more and feel a little more comfortable about pitch selection.
Here's the payoff pitch home. Judge batting 6th this afternoon, and that's noteworthy in and of itself. It's the second time that Joe Girardi's hit him in that spot in the last week plus. This was a guy that was 3-4 in the damage chairs in the first half. And on a 3-2 pitch, another one spanked foul. Aaron Judge has found himself in a lot of these full count plate appearances. In fact, 154 of his plate appearances have gone to a full count. That's the most of any player in Major League Baseball. And he's hanging around.
Well, like a season goes for a hitter. When he's hot, he doesn't foul the pitches off. He puts them in play and does damage. When you're not, you feel like you're in between. Mechanically, everybody goes through it. He's gone through a funk where he's just a little bit in between and missing the pitches he was crushing earlier in the year.
The next 3-2 pitch, and for the 106th time this year, Aaron Judge has drawn a base on balls. He has tied a Major League rookie record established back in 1942 by then Indian Les Fleming. So for all the discussion of the strikeouts, Aaron Judge has retained the ability to work the walk, if you will, and he's aboard with 2 gone. So that'll give Jacoby Ellsbury a chance now with 2 out in the inning. Ellsbury's put together a 6-game hitting streak, has his numbers up to 258 for the season. And while that might not look like much considering what Ellsbury's done in past years, it's taken his getting very hot since the All-Star break to even get him to that number. And now Nicholas and Cashner want to take a moment and get on the same page. Again, the first time that this battery has worked to one another all year. There's a snapshot of what Ellsbury's done in his last 10. A bouncer for Odor. And Cashner mitigates the 2-out walk on 1 pitch to Jacoby Ellsbury. The Rangers version of Aaron Judge. Big Joey Gallo bats 3rd as we go to the bottom of the 2nd scoreless. By Boost Mobile. High scoring opener yesterday, and so far so good for Severino and Cashner from the pitching end of things this afternoon. And the Yankee right-hander goes back to work in the second for Nomar Mazara, Carlos Gomez, and Joey Gallo. Mazara's hit safely in 4 in a row. There was kind of a wait and see on the Rangers lineup this afternoon based on Mazara's status. The thought being he'll either play the outfield or DH. Jeff Bannister, after the turnaround yesterday, deciding to DH him today.
He, much like a lot of Rangers, has power. They're going to start him out away, but I think to get him out, you got to get him out inside. He's got such a big swing. You can see the fastball, 98 miles an hour. For Severino, as a former pitcher, to watch a guy just be like looking like he's just playing catch with a catcher, but at 98 is a rare commodity.
Well, Luis Severino has the highest average fastball velocity among qualified starters this year, but that does not necessarily mean he uses it a lot. In fact, among those who average 94 miles an hour or better on a fastball, Severino's usage of that pitch is among the lowest in baseball. He strikes out Mazara, his first punch out of the game, and there's one away.
Yeah, it will not be his last, but this is a theme that the Texas Rangers are okay with as long as they play their style of baseball and get on base. There's a fastball away, he has no chance.
So one gone now for the two-time All-Star Carlos Gomez, who's picked it up of late. We mentioned this a moment ago, 11 for his last 34. And part of this mini Rangers resurgence due to players like DeShields and Gomez swinging the bat better this time of year than they have at any point during the season.
See, and there's the one hittable pitch he probably is going to get in that at bat, and that's what you have to do if you're the Rangers. You got to take advantage of it. He fouls it straight back. I doubt you're going to get 2 of them in that area with a guy going this good.
Off the end of the bat, and that one took a left turn as it got out to Castro, and it looks like Gomez is hurt. Boy, he went down quickly. We'll take a look in a moment as to whether that happened coming out of the box or halfway up the line.
Yeah, you see a slider away, and he gets down on his knee. You see his right knee. He's got that Beltre kind of swing and drop to his knee. Here's another angle. See how his knee goes down, and it looks like something right there. He noticed it right away and didn't really want to get much weight on it the rest of the time. At first live glance, it looked like he might have fouled it off his foot. That's why the ball was so funky spin, but not the case. And certainly hoping it's more of a cramp than anything else, but he got his weight off of it really quickly.
Well, for a lineup that's without Adrian Beltre, now the last thing Jeff Bannister wanted to see was another important veteran become unavailable down the stretch as Gomez is escorted off the field.
Yeah, many people, I mean, it's been a strange year for the Rangers anyways, but for Beltre not to be in the lineup, and then when he's not in the lineup, they've actually picked up their offensive production. Maybe intuitively they knew they had to, but he's the heart and soul of that team. Pulling his hamstring out for quite some time.
So here's Joey Gallo now with 2 out and the bases empty. Gallo's hit safely in 9 of his last 10, doing his best to at least change the dialogue to some degree from being a feast or famine guy to a better all-around hitter, something that Jeff Bannister believes he is.
And those kind of takes are going to go a long way. Look, when down in spring training, just hearing the sound off his bat, it is different than everybody else. He's got power. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak to it. He can hit it forever. But the quality at bats and the walks are what they're looking to get a little bit more of besides that power.
On the ground to the shifted infield and back in short right. Starlin Castro was playing in that beer league rover position to help make for another 1-2-3 inning behind Luis Severino. 8-9 and leadoff hitters in a realigned Texas outfield. Drew Robinson takes over in left, and that moves Delano to Shields into center in place of the injured Carlos Gomez, about whom, if we get some word from the Rangers dugout, we'll certainly pass it along to you. Hurt himself trying to run out a ground ball last half inning, so it's a little different look for Texas up the middle and in left. A ball and a strike to count to Todd Frazier, the two-time All-Star. 23 home runs overall for Todd. A midseason acquisition by the Yankees from the Chicago White Sox. Back in near his home state, that is, as a ground ball for Will Middlebrooks backs him up, low throw, but hung on to cleanly by Joey Gallo. And on a tough chance, the Rangers have the first out of the inning.
This ball literally hit down the line, and Will Middlebrooks knows who's running, takes his time, probably would have liked to. No, the short hop was perfect. The only thing you try to do when you're a third baseman is not give them that in between. And I've always said more infielders who are able to utilize the long hop and try to, instead of trying to air it out the whole way there. That's a fine job by Will Middlebrooks, who hasn't played a ton for the Rangers, but filling in nicely.
And speaking of guys who haven't played a ton this year, Greg Bird, who for the second straight season has had injuries stand in the way from what a lot of people thought would be a breakout campaign. Missed the entire 2016 season recovering from right shoulder labrum surgery, and this year missed a lot of time after having a bone removed from his ankle. Among the injury problems that Greg has endured this year. I'd like to tell you all about the OS trigonum bone.
You don't know that?
I mean, I could have made something up, but invariably somebody would have Googled what I said, and I would have been called out for the fraud that I am. So that's that. A ball and 2 strikes to Greg Bird. But if you think back to spring training, with a bunch of young players who debuted last year, Tyler Austin, Aaron Judge, Bird, who was around the previous year, you thought that maybe Bird was the guy in the pack that would assert himself this year. as he's caught looking for strike three. First punch out of the game for Andrew Cashner. Hey, a reminder, as we are here in Texas and folks in this state, not quite the Arlington area, but just south of here, still struggling after some really unfortunate weather events that you've certainly heard of. Please help those affected by Hurricane Harvey and Irma by visiting redcross.org or texting Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation. 2 gone now for Brett Gardner.
Gardner trying to get it going. Just been a little bit of a slump lately. Of course, having season and career high home run numbers. A little bit cooled off in that department, but the Yankees offense is awfully intriguing if they get a couple guys going.
Gardner takes a strike.
And it's awful intriguing to know that the majority of the rest of the season is going to be played in their home state, where the ball and the offense can really get going as they try to nail down a position in the playoffs down the stretch.
You know, you could make the case, and the Yankees do have the first wild card spot. They've got a home friendly schedule coming up for the final 3 weeks of the season. You could make a case that the Rangers, even though they don't have perhaps that rosy of an outlook, might have the best chance among the contending teams. And for the Yankees, thanks to Hurricane Irma, that series against the Rays will be played in Citi Field, home of the New York Mets. About as close as a home series as Joe Girardi could have ever asked for. And the rest of it through the first weekend in October. But regarding the Rangers, and Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News, who's covered the Rangers for a long time, did some math recently. And as they're in this final stretch, the next 10 days, including yesterday, they've got a chance to tighten things up. 6 against teams currently ahead of them in the standings. And Gardner's got his second hit of the ball game. In fact, both of them belong to Brett Gardner.
And really, when you're in this position, and let's face it, at the trade deadline, they made some moves that in many people's eyes might have been going the wrong way, in the sense that they didn't think they had a chance. That's all you can ask for, is controllable games, is to be able to beat the teams in front of you, get a little help, but mostly take care of it yourself. And that's why this series is such a big series. Last night's win was huge. To come back and facing Severino, if they could find a way to piece this game together and Cashner goes toe-to-toe, they're in a great position.
So I'm going to read to you what this is, the little extrapolation exercise that Evan Grant did in the Dallas Morning News. 7 series left. They've got 5 3-game sets and 2 4-game sets. If the Rangers win 2 out of 3 in the 3-game sets and split the 4-gamers, they'll go 14-9. That would get them to 84 wins. That's a little low for a wild card team, but that's kind of where the pack is right now. If they go 14-9, that would match their best 23-game stretch of the season. So it's not a slam dunk that that's going to happen, but it does seem like something that's reachable, given that Texas is playing their best baseball of the season right now.
Yeah, you get the feeling, fair or not, that the Rangers are amongst teams that have had some flaws. That's why they're in the position they're in. But offensively, they can make up for it. They can look really good, which they have in the second half. They beat the ball and scored a lot of runs. The Yankees, to me, seem like the cream of the crop. That's why they're in this position they're in, leading it currently.
0-2 pitch to Chase Headley, misses in on the hands, a ball and 2 strikes. Both of the hits in this ball game belong to Brett Gardner, a pair of singles. He's at first base with 2 gone here in a scoreless game in the 3rd. You know, Ken Rosenthal, we continue the rosy kind of finish discussion on the Rangers with the state of the DL for this team as well.
Right, and they're hoping, actually they're rather excited about the possibility of Matt Bush and Keone Kela returning as early as Monday or Tuesday, the both of them. That would give them a lot more power in their bullpen. It's something that they're lacking right now. Could make a huge difference down the stretch.
Yeah, it's been kind of a challenge, I think, for Doug Brocail, the great pitching coach here, and for Jeff Bannister to close ball games. That hasn't been kind of a challenge. It's been a challenge.
Yeah, they don't have a consistent guy, that's for sure. So they mix and match, and they find out who is going to be the guy currently while they're in this fight.
Cashner keeping Gardner honest at first base. It's fun to speculate this time of year about the wild card teams, and we'll continue this kind of discussion next half inning when Luis Severino goes out there, in terms of who would get the ball. One game, win and you're in. And then kind of keeping your eye on a 5-game series should you be so fortunate to victory that game.
Well, that's why the Yankees, I think, are in the best position of doing both of those. With the way that they have been built, their rotation now has taken form. Need their bullpen back.
Gardner runs, and Headley gets it past Gallo on into right field. First and third with 2 away in the 3rd inning.
Headley continuing his hot hitting here in the 2nd half. They try to get the ball in. It just leaks a little bit more over the plate. Headley gets on top of this one. He was fouling off a couple others that were up there. And you see Gallo coming off the bag, but neither he or Dueler could track that down. Now they're going to face the hot Sanchez. This is, to me, been the guy last year, and he will end up being the guy this year. We know what he did last year in the historic run when he got called up. Started out the year hurt, and now he's shaping back in form. The reason I think he's the most dangerous hitter, watch how comfortable. He reminds me a lot of Pujols in the way that he stands in the box and just looks comfortable. No wasted movement, and strong.
Sanchez takes a strike.
That's one thing he's not afraid to do either. Hit with strikes on him. He's not a real aggressive early hitter.
48 home runs in 159 career games. And if number 50 comes soon, there's a pretty good chance that only 2 players in the history of this game will have gotten to that career mark, 50 home runs in fewer games. Behind here, 0-2. About the only aspect of his game that you could take issue with statistically is his batting average with runners on base. And that kind of rears its ugly head here after a 3-pitch strikeout, stranding a pair. Still scoreless. Bottom of the third inning, Will Middlebrooks, Rougned Odor, and Brett Nicholas against Luis Severino, who is yet to allow a base runner early on. 2 perfect innings for Severino to start today. Will Middlebrooks making his second start since being summoned as a September call-up. Kind of unusual territory for a guy with as much big league time as Middlebrooks has with the Brewers, Red Sox, and Padres. But he put together a pretty good year at AAA Round Rock despite a couple of injuries. And he had been on the Rangers' radar ever since spring training. In fact, let's take you back to Wednesday. Rangers had a doubleheader in Atlanta, and Will Middlebrooks did something that had never been done in Major League history, a pinch hit triple in both ends of the twin bill. And if you can go back farther than 1913 to figure out if somebody had done that previously, be my guest. Little comebacker for Severino, and there's one away. Our friends at Stats Inc. can go back to 1913 and no farther. Unless you know somebody working at a library someplace with microfiche and huge books. That's as far back as we go. So as far as we're concerned, first time ever.
Well, here's a guy I'd like to go back to last year and the contract and all the expectation. You see the numbers way down. The power's still there, 28, but the average way down, and that's not an indication of the player I think that they're expecting for Rougned Odor to continue to be.
Yeah, about the only thing that's remained consistent for Odor this year is the home run total. Slugging percentage down, a precipitous demise in batting average.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Help me out.
Batting average is
no
the
precipitous.
Number. Oh, a lot.
A lot. Okay. Phew. I thought that's. I just want to make sure I'm on the same wavelength with you.
2 balls and no strikes to count to Rougned Odor. Well, you can say this on his behalf. He's been out there every day. He's one of only 5 major league players to play in every one of his team's games, and I think all but 1 or 2 of those have been starts. In front, 3 balls and no strikes. And there's ball 4. In Luis Severino's only bad start in the second half, John, and you and I were there to watch it, a home game against the Boston Red Sox. His troubles began in the 3rd inning with a couple of walks.
Yeah, he went into a different gear, made some bad pitch selections after walking a couple guys. Sometimes that's all it takes, get off track of what you're doing, because you can't believe you just missed 4 times in a row. But hittable counts, that's what the Rangers are going to have any chance. They got to get hittable counts and not miss the one pitch, the one fastball that's fat over the middle of the plate, because he'll challenge you, but not as much as you mentioned. He won't throw that a lot, but every hitter is going to get at least one fastball.
There's Brett Nicholas now with the runner aboard and 1 away. Nicholas takes a strike. 69 games at AAA Round Rock, and Brett had a good offensive campaign, hit .311 at the farm. And a little check in on Odor.
Well, when he's ahead in the count, that means Severino, it's 154. The hitters. That's how much of an advantage getting strikes early and getting ahead of the hitters because of the stuff he possesses.
0-2.
It's 100 points difference when he's behind, and still modest, only 252. So his stuff is so good that when he could tell you what's coming at times, and it's not going to matter.
I think based on the night that Gary Sanchez had trying to catch Masahiro Tanaka yesterday, this looks like, at least on paper, to be a little easier assignment for him. And I think it's worth talking about Sanchez defensively here with a runner at first, because every number outside of passed balls and wild pitches is one that says Sanchez is a good defensive catcher.
Yeah, he's got a great arm. He'll learn how to call a game better. he will work on this and get progressively better through spring training. I really believe that, because what he's got is a mechanical flaw in the ability to shift and be prepared for pitches that are going to go one way or the other. And for Severino, really only a changeup and slider, so he's only got to think about changing the direction on one pitch. His fastball is pretty straight, electric, and his slider's sharp. So when a slider's called, he knows it's only going one direction.
Odor with a sizable lead and a swing and a miss by Nicholas. There are 2 gone here in the 3rd.
But where it gets difficult for a pitcher and for Sanchez has been pressure of runners on 3rd. Sanchez pass ball last night led into a run. And when I mean pressure on a pitcher, he has to think a little bit about, does he have the confidence to bounce the slider? Does he have confidence to not crossfire his catcher? So far that hasn't been the case, because Severino has limited the Rangers to not much action on the bases.
So Odor still aboard for the top of the order. Delino to Shields now, an infield fly ball on his first try today. Shields has had to change his position early in this one. Started the afternoon in left, and that one's kicked by Castro. Everybody's safe. A routine chance, and an E4 puts runners aboard with 2 gone.
Yeah, he came at this a little standing up, not really prepared for this in between. Thought he had it the whole way, and with his legs and feet not totally being squared up to where he could block the ball and still make the throw. Pretty sure-handed Castro knows he should have made that play. Chu swung at the first pitch last time on a fastball and flew out. See what pitch selection they go now with runner in scoring position.
A couple of hits yesterday in the win for Shin-Soo Choo, and the best opportunity yet for Texas to get on the board on a walk and an error. And a ball and no strikes to Choo.
Great pitch away. This is a guy that typically has always had a pretty good eye at the plate, on base percentage type guy with some power.
Yeah, Shin-Soo Choo's career on base percentage is the 5th best among active American leaguers. Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera, Joe Mauer, and Albert Pujols, the only names ahead of him on that list. Rangers' hottest hitter due up next with 2 gone. That's Elvis Andrus. A ball and a strike to Shin-Soo Choo. To 1-2 now.
He's really struggled with the ball up out of the zone. 0 hits on the year. That's the one area you can go to. You see this one just above the hands almost. Can't quite get the barrel of the bat to it. A little bit higher than that, he won't be able to do much with that fastball.
Ball and 2 strikes with 2 gone. Runners at first and second. And it's a breaking ball that he lays off of 2-2.
And the reason I think he laid off of that is the pitch recognition. The pitch prior to that was higher. That one started out lower, and when it was breaking, he's disciplined enough to say, I recognize the height of that. Had he swung at a fastball on a lower and more towards his knee, I think he would have went after that pitch. So knowing where and when to throw your off-speed pitches off the height of your fastball is very important.
2-2. Got him swinging, and Severino's out of a jam. A walk and an error, no damage on the scoreboard. We've played 3 complete in Arlington this afternoon. Aaron Judge will bat 4th in a scoreless game. Building better every day. And by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. 0-0 on the scoreboard, top half of the fourth with Ken Rosenthal and John Smoltz. Matt Vasgersian and Didi Gregorius leads things off for the Yankees. Gregorius, Castro, and Judge. Andrew Cashner and Luis Severino have been the stories in this one. They've matched each other pitch for pitch thus far. And it's a ball and no strikes to Didi Gregorius.
Cashner's done a great job elevating, changing his fastball, and mixing in the changeup. A lot of close calls, a lot of close pitches. Not getting the call, but coming right back after him. You wake up in a short turnaround, and if you're Andrew Cashner, you're just trying to box with Severino by not giving the Yankees any breathing room. Severino hasn't given up a hit. You don't pitch against the other guy, but in this case, when you're chasing down the Yankees and you're chasing a playoff spot, you actually do.
2 balls and a strike. The count to Luis Severino, to Didi Gregorius.
I mean, I was in that situation getting interviewed, and I'll be the first to say that we're all going to lie and say, no, I'm not pitching against the other guy. I'm pitching against their lineup. But you're aware of what the other guy's doing and how dominant stretch he's been in, and you know you're not going to get a lot of runs.
And Gregorius bounces it to first for Joey Gallo. There's one other game going on, and that's the Cleveland Indians trying to make it 17 in a row, playing host to the Orioles. Mike Hill has a game break back in L.A. All right, Mike, we'll keep you posted on what's happening in Cleveland. And you know, this Rangers team, as far as franchise history, actually has something in common with what the Indians are doing now, as Starlin Castro digs in. The Cleveland's won 16 in a row. The last time the Indians had this kind of stretch, there weren't many of us around to remember it. And a swing and a miss by Castro. They're scoring an average of 7+ runs a game during the winning streak. They've scored first in all 16 games that they've won consecutively. And what the Rangers have in common with what the Indians are doing now is it was the '81 Rangers that was the last team in the live ball era to shut out an opponent in 5 straight home games. 2 gone here in the fourth.
Yeah, they got 2 hot starters going right now, and that's Bauer and Kluber. And when you get combined 16 and 2 and you're rolling like they are, they had a great experience, maybe not the great ending to last year's World Series, but a lot of those guys gaining that experience, knowing what it's like, and right away you feel like they're going to get an opportunity to go back if they continue pitching the way they are.
2 out, bases empty now for Aaron Judge. The '81 Rangers. Five straight home shutouts.
Especially here.
Quickly 0-2 on Aaron Judge.
Well, both starters, and Cashner, especially on Judge right here, just painting the outside corner with his fastball. He hasn't made many mistakes with his fastball, and then he's wrinkled in a couple sliders to finish off a couple hitters. Throwing it where he wants to, looks comfortable.
And Judge can't hang on. A 3-pitch strikeout ends the inning. There was one well-hit ball, but they go down in order in the fourth against Andrew Cashner. Still scoreless in Arlington. And then Carlos Gomez's spot in the fourth, the spot that's turned into Drew Robinson, and we'll have an update on his status. Speaking of Gomez in a moment. Scoreless here in the bottom half of the fourth as Luis Severino goes back to work. 3 strikeouts and has not allowed a hit so far. Pitched out of a mini jam in the third after a walk and an error. And Elvis Andrus lays off to go in front. 2 balls and no strikes. Check that. It's 1-1. 1-1 to Andrus.
Late call.
Checks a swing on a called strike, and it's 1-2 now. And Elvis having a bit of a hard time with Tim Timmons behind the plate all of a sudden.
Yeah, this slider wasn't one of the better ones, and it kind of backs up and holds over the middle. Andrus thinks it's high.
A little emergency swing and a nice play by Severino for out number 1.
So here's some of the changes a young pitcher goes through, and mechanically you always want to get connected. Let's look at on the left. See where his hands go when he goes to deliver the ball, how far away they are from his body. And on the right side, it's connected to his body. And that change right there, along with staying back and being comfortable, has made the difference for Severino. It allows him to command. You see how he finishes. He finishes as if there's no effort behind the ball, and it's 98 miles an hour. That's a live arm, and now he's got quiet mechanics to go along with it. All of that just boasts consistency and next level pitcher. You're talking about a guy they didn't know what to do with. Last year he flourished out of the pen, and now he's unleashed as a top line starter.
Quickly in front of Nomar Mazara, 0-2. Time for a Gatorade Extra Effort player profile. The league ranks of Luis Severino. He is top 5 in ERA, hits per 9, opponent's batting average, and strikeouts. And if you want to kind of whittle those numbers down even more, he is 1 or 2 in those categories since the All-Star break, putting together a magnificent year after last year. And you mentioned, John, the success he had in the bullpen. That success didn't come until late, because his overall line was not what folks thought it would look like after he burst onto the scene in 2015. He rings up Mazara now. 3-8, 5.83 ERA in 22 games last year over 4 different stints up and down to AAA. Two gone now, and that'll bring up Drew Robinson making his first plate appearance, batting in Carlos Gomez's spot in the order. And Ken Rosenthal, do we have an update on Gomez's status?
We do, Matt. Gomez rolled his right ankle coming out of the box. He's going to be evaluated further. Some in the Yankees dugout feared it might have been his Achilles. We'll just have to see. Also, big news out of the Brewers, and not good news at all. Jimmy Nelson, their best pitcher down the stretch, out for the rest of the year with a right rotator cuff strain and a partial anterior labrum tear, to be determined whether he'll have surgery or rehab. This happened last night, arguably the Brewers' biggest win of the season. Beat the Cubs 2-0. Nelson goes the first 5 innings, then singles, and coming back into first base, sliding back into first base, he jammed that shoulder, and the injury was much worse than they feared.
That's horrible news for a Brewers team that's only 4 out in the division, 3 back in the wild card race. And without, as Ken mentions, one of their best pitchers all year. A swing and a miss by Robinson, and an all business 1-2-3 fourth for Luis Severino. Still scoreless in Arlington. forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everybody. To learn more, go to playball.org. No score here between the Yankees and the Rangers. The middle game in a 3-game installment here in Arlington this weekend. Andrew Cashner going back to work. He'll get Jacoby Ellsbury, Todd Frazier, and Greg Bird, bottom of the New York lineup. 3 hits for the Yankees. Texas still looking for their first base hit in this one today. And Ellsbury lines sharply to first, gobbled up by Joey Gallo.
Nice to have a tall first baseman over there. Power and hops.
One away now for Todd Frazier, who grounded to third in his first at bat today.
Frazier's had some success against Cashner. Not a lot of matchups against the whole Yankee lineup, but coming into this, 455 Frazier against Cashner. Cashner's a guy, when you hear the terms glove side, arm side, glove side is going to be the fastball command away to a right-hander, and that's where he has a lot of success on the whole. Arm side, the averages go up a little bit, but that side of the plate has been pretty good for Cashner. So when you hear arm side command, that's going to be his pitching hand, of course. Glove side command is going to be to the other side of the plate, and when you have both commands, you're talking about Clayton Kershaw, guys like that.
2 balls and a strike to count to Todd Frazier. But we talked about how Cashner's come on of late. Last 10 games, the numbers have been really good. Overall, in this ballpark this year, a 2.34 ERA. And if the number stays below 250, Andrew Cashner will end the season with the lowest all-time seasonal ERA in Globe Life history. Frazier with a drive to center field. DeShields has room, and there are 2 gone in the 5th. A reminder coming up next, it's a college football doubleheader on Fox. First, Nebraska looks to flex their Big Ten muscle as they take on Oregon. Then number 14 Stanford battles Heisman Trophy hopeful Sam Darnold and the 6th-ranked USC Trojans at 8:30. College football coming up next on Fox.
I think that's points, and more points in those 2 games.
Which one? Oh, both of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're going to score a lot of points.
I think I agree with you.
Oregon and their high-flying offense.
Here's Greg Bird now with 2 gone. Getting back to Cashner here, this is not a pitcher's park by anyone's definition. And if you can end a full season's worth of starts with an ERA under 3 here, heck, under 4, you're doing something pretty well. But Cashner again at 2.34 at home this year.
You know what, I'm always amazed when I check out the stats of day and night, is you would think in the day the ball would just jump here. Maybe it's tougher to see because both teams do not do well offensively during the day. The Rangers, believe it or not, are 29th in day averages.
Bird with a base hit into right field. There's something to that. Remember all those years here when they would talk about Josh Hamilton not being able to see the ball during the daytime because he had light eyes,
yeah,
and he was more sensitive in the sunshine? I think there's something to day-night splits. That's one that I buy into.
Well, that's pretty significant when you talk about the heat here, and we're not in that right now. Unseasonably cool for this time of year, and the ball typically jumps, but it has not shown up. Granted, they don't play a ton of day games,
but that doesn't make sense to me, that number. An ERA nearly 2 full points lower at home, where it's a little harder to pitch. Andrew's just comfortable here. Back to the top of the order, Brett Gardner, who has exactly half of the hits in the ball game, bidding for a third, but this one denied on the liner out to center field, handled by DeShields to make for another scoreless frame. Middle of the afternoon, still no score. Well, the slugger matchup between Joey Gallo and Aaron Judge so far hasn't yielded a long ball this afternoon, but combined there's been plenty of damage all season long. Not only the frequency, but the average distance, the average exit velocity. One of the big storylines in baseball this year has been home run frequency. And these two guys, as we watch Joey Gallo dig in, among those most responsible. Gallo, Middlebrooks, and Odor. The Rangers look for their first base hit against Luis Severino this afternoon.
Well, if you stay away from the ball away on Gallo, your success rate goes way up. Up, only 6 hits out of 74 attempts. Or I'm sorry, ball down 6. Up, no hits out of 12 attempts. And inside, only 1 hit against right-handers. So you pretty much got 3 areas to go to if you're a pitcher to expose the big swing of Joey Gallo.
2 balls and a strike to Gallo. He's hit safely in 9 of his last 10 at the start of play today. And it's 2-2 now. Well, the Rangers as a team get almost half of their runs this year via the home run. And Gallo has been the guy in the middle of that charge. More home runs than singles. Almost more home runs than every other hit combined.
That's hard to believe, but that's kind of what some of people in baseball think is the new trend. I disagree. I think it'll phase itself out, but right now it's pretty popular.
I mean, the frequency of home runs for Gallo, and when you think about a home run every 10+ at-bats, carry that out over the course of a full season, that puts a guy on a pace for between 48 and 60 home runs. That home run rate is the highest in franchise history, and that dates back to the Senators era of this Texas Ranger franchise.
But there's a big but, and that but is, when is he hitting the homers? right? I mean, homers in quantity are nice, and when the end of the year you end up with 45, but when are you hitting it late at all? Is it your team within 1 or 2 runs, or is it? Those are the kind of things that we don't talk about enough. That at the end of the day, when you're talking about a team, now a walk, that's a good at bat. When you're talking about a team that needs to win big games or in a playoff series, that's what's going to come out. It's the ability to make contact and hit them when they count. So this kid has made adjustments, and we all know about his power, and I think he'll continue to make adjustments to become a better hitter. I don't think you're going to see year in and year out he's going to have more homers than singles.
Well, I think it's on his mind. I think the Rangers are aware of it too. And again, Jeff Bannister feels like he's become a little bit more of a complete hitter in the second half. There's Will Middlebrooks now after the second walk of the game issued by Severino. And it's not just the Rangers and Yankees. This is a staggering number. 223 players have achieved a double-digit home run season this year. And that's the most in Major League history. Previously, the high was 217 back in the 2000 year. That's bounced to third. Good play by Frazier to Castro for one. Not in time to double off Middlebrooks.
Middlebrooks still has good speed. You see Frazier backhand and a quick turn, but not quick enough.
Yankees privy to that same replay look, choosing not to challenge the decision. 1 out, 1 on now for Rougned Odor, who walked in his first strike today. Severino starts him off speed. A ball and no strikes to Odor. We kind of hinted at this conversation earlier, and it's out there with Luis Severino, the fact that the Yankees, who have the first wild card spot right now, there goes the runner and it's fouled away. They started Middlebrooks. It's a ball and a strike. It's not premature to start speculating, John, as to who would start the wild card game for New York.
Yeah,
I mean, Joe Girardi's not going to have that discussion with anybody publicly, but you know it's being discussed internally. You can make a case for Sonny Gray. He's got the postseason starting experience. You could make the case for Tanaka. He's got the most experience, period, or Sabathia for that matter. But I think most of the direction is trending toward this man.
I would agree. He shut a team down.
Since the break, Tanaka 4-3 despite the rough one yesterday. Still a respectable ERA. Sonny Gray's been great and finally getting some support his last number of starts as a Yankee. Severino has been that much better. American League wildcard game is scheduled to be played on October 3rd, and on that day Luis Severino will be 23 years 225 days old, and that would make him the youngest Yankee pitcher to start his team's first postseason game. It would also make him one of the youngest in the wild card era to start his team's first postseason game of a season. And Odor strikes out. That's 6 today for Luis Severino. Of course, we could bring Kenny in on this discussion too. Kenny, if the Yankees have to play through the final weekend just to get there, they might not have the luxury of choosing who they want.
That's right, Matt. And I asked Brian Cashman, the general manager, about this yesterday, and he said, actually, we haven't talked about it because if we don't clinch early, we might not be able to line it up. Ultimately, the decision could hinge on rest. It could hinge on the opponent. But, John, we've seen time and time again in the postseason, stuff plays.
Yes, it does. And the Yankees have probably a collection of stuff that starts with some of their starters, but also finishes with their relievers. And if they can get the last 3 of those guys going, it is a nightmare one-game scenario for anybody who's facing the New York Yankees, and if they get to that spot.
2-out base runner aboard for the catcher, Brett Nicholas. That's into the corner. And potentially trouble. Judge has to get on it in a hurry. They're going to try to wave Middlebrooks around. He'll score without a play. And it's the number 9 hitter, the catcher, the September call-up, Brett Nicholas, who finally breaks the scoreless tie.
Yeah, and breaks the hit column. That's just a nightmare for a pitcher. 2 outs, you've been cruising. That's the only thing when you keep the ball in the ballpark. The last thing you want to see is a ball hit down the line with 2 outs. The runner knows he can go on contact. And this ball did not get to see how it died right there. That little bit costs the relay, but Will Middlebrooks just basically knows if he can make the strides and not have any missteps, hit the corners, he'll give his team a lead.
Delino DeShields now in a 1-0 game. DeShields has reached on an error and popped to shortstop.
It's been a strange last 2 months for the Yankees for me. Just when you think they're going to catch the Red Sox, then they slip back, then they go on a nice little roll. It's been kind of a, yesterday was a crazy game. The bounces didn't go their way, but this team, you just are waiting for them to pull a Cleveland Indians or Houston Astros, run off 7 in a row. It just hasn't been that kind of scenario, and the Yankees have been fighting really the whole season to posture themselves in a better situation now in the wild card. This will be one of those games that you go on paper looks like a mismatch, and yet the Rangers might find a way to scratch like they just did, scratch a run against.
Swing and a miss by DeShields. Nothing further against Severino, but the scoreless tie is broken on the 2-out RBI double by Brett Nicholas, and we're through 5 in a 1-0 Texas lead. Today's telecast is sponsored by MasterPass, the simple, secure way to pay. and by the all-new 2017 Jeep Compass. Well, the Rangers, on the strength of their one and only base hit so far all day, have taken a 1-0 lead as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Andrew Cashner back to work on Chase Headley, Gary Sanchez, and Didi Gregorius. Yankees have out-hit Texas this afternoon. 4 singles for New York. But the 2-out RBI double by Brett Nicholas, the difference on the scoreboard. It came last half inning, 1-0 Rangers. A ball and a strike to Chase Headley.
How are you in day games when it comes to scorekeeping and stuff?
I struggle.
You do struggle?
But my splits are the same. I mean, I struggle at night too, as you know. I mean, I'm about as close to a grandparent's schedule as you can get for a guy in his 50s. Soft foods buffet about 4:30 in the afternoon. In the rack at 7.
Well, mostly because you got to get up somewhere.
Up 6 times a night. 2 balls and a strike to count to Headley.
We didn't get a lot of good looks when we walked in the locker room today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disruptive start time, I think, for players. Noon, especially on the heels of the night game last night. It was a long one here. How did you do in daytime starts?
I don't know how I did, but I sure enjoyed them. I was a guy that didn't like to wait. So if there were double headers, and we had a few of those, it varied based on where I was in my career. But I didn't like waiting. Just get out there and get it going early as possible.
So when you pitched in a doubleheader and the Rangers had one on Wednesday in Atlanta, would Bobby Cox give you the option of the day game or night game?
Yeah, latter part of my career, he would.
A pop for Middlebrooks and one away here to start the 6th inning. Hey, earlier today, the Rangers playing host to the Little League team from Lufkin, Texas, that came awfully close to winning the Little League World Series. They lost to the team from Japan for the championship. They were honored today. In fact, Andrew Cashner hosted them along with their head coach, and we had a chance to meet some of the kids and the coaching staff today.
Yeah, that was pretty cool for Andrew. He's starting today, so it tells you about his demeanor and personality. It wasn't a big deal to get in the cubicle and not talk to anyone. He was showing them around, showing them different parts of the clubhouse, and so that told me enough about I needed to know about Andrew as far as he's not one of those all-consuming guys thinking that life's going to end if he doesn't think 24/7 baseball.
We had a chance to meet their manager, Bud Maddox, who's been a youth baseball coach for 41 years. 0-2 the count to Gary Sanchez.
He reminded me, seeing him, of my grade school and basically all through high school coach Carl Wagner. For over 50 years he coached youth sports. Boy, that's putting your time in and helping a lot of kids play a great game of baseball.
Sanchez with a sharply hit ground ball to Andrews. You know, kind of neat for Andrew Cashner to be the host because he's a Texas guy. Pitched collegiately at TCU from Conroe, Texas, about 3 hours south of here toward Houston. And a guy who, as we mentioned earlier, Ken Rosenthal, could be back on the market this winter, and he'll have a familiar name alongside him on the free agent market.
Yes, he will be a free agent, and he won't be the top prize among the starting pitchers, but when you look at this group, it's Yu Darvish and Jake Arrieta at the top, Alex Cobb, Lance Lynn, and Cashner is somewhere in that middle tier as well. And you might think it would be automatic for him to want to be back here, but he is eager to test the market. He said he assumes he will test the market, hasn't had any conversations with the Rangers yet, doesn't know if he's in their plans.
2 gone for him. Didi Gregorius, the batter. I would imagine that he's going to give strong consideration to staying here. Again, a lot's going to be determined as far as the offer. But, you know, he has a chance to finish with the best season of his career here as a Ranger. We've already documented how good he is in this ballpark. He's in his home state.
Well, besides the time of analytics and strikeouts, that being not the most popular thing, the fact that he doesn't strike out a lot, maybe this is a down year, but I think the health concern would be the only thing that keeps this guy from getting to the next level, because you can see it looks like simple command mechanics in the ball he's commanding out of his hand, especially today. has been spectacular. So if no one feels like he's on the downside of the injuries, you make that investment in him, and his arm is live.
Pitching coach Doug Brocail, perhaps in part responsible for Cashner kicking into that next gear this year. A lot of people didn't know what to make of Andrew as a big league pitcher because he was such a highly touted prospect. Drafted 4 times before finally coming out of TCU as a first rounder by the Cubs in 2008. He's been traded twice. He's been on the wish list of teams for such a long time. Three things to know about Andrew Cashner. We talk about being traded twice, and once was from the Cubs to the Padres in exchange for Anthony Rizzo in a multi-player deal. He's been a baseball kid from the word go. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Didi Gregorius.
It's been an interesting year so far, and he doesn't pitch deep in the games per se. He's dominated the first 3 innings, 4 through 6. The ERA goes up about a 1.5, and then where it gets a little bit interesting is the 7th inning on. That's where he hasn't had much action, but the ERA goes to 8.31.
Gregorius with a bouncer to the right of Odor, who read it really well off the bat to make for a 1-2-3, top of the 6th behind Andrew Cashner. It's a pitching and defense afternoon in Arlington, and a still 1-0 Rangers lead. They're in the backyard around the diamond. Show us what you got on social media with hashtag MLB The Play. We'll feature some of the best all season long. And you should have seen the size of that bird. My goodness. Pterodactyl. Shin-Soo Choo leads things off in the 6th inning for the Rangers. It's Choo, Andrus, and Mazzara here for Texas on top 1-0. Scoring on the benefit of their one and only base hit against Luis Severino today. The 2-out RBI double by Brett Nicholas back in the 5th. Severino's been great. He struck out 7, has walked 2, and again allowed just the 1 run on 1 base hit. 3-1 to Shin-Soo Choo. Rangers' best hitter waiting on deck. We'd normally reserve that for Adrian Beltre, but with his being unavailable, that falls to Elvis Andrus, and it's a full count to Choo now.
That's how good Severino is. Not a lot of recoil anymore, and he can throw at 3-1, 3-0 fastballs and hitters still. If placed perfectly, you're not going to do much with it. We knew there was going to be a strikeout game with the Rangers lineup.
And Choo pops it up. That's a nice finish to an at-bat that did not start out with promise for Severino. Got behind Choo 3-0, ends up getting it to a full count, and then retiring him on the pop-up. So here's Elvis Andrus now. Quiet so far today, 0 for 2. One of only 3 players in Major League Baseball this year to post a 20 home run, 20 stolen base season. MVP candidates Mike Trout and Jose Altuve are the others. And on the first pitch, an opposite field fly ball for route number 2. Good company he's keeping in terms of the home runs and the stolen bases. And I think even more impressively, Elvis Andrus this year is only 6 stolen bases away from becoming just the 3rd shortstop in Major League history to have a 20 home run, 30 stolen base, 40 double campaign. Two away with the bases empty now for Nomar Mazara. By the way, speaking of Adrian Beltre, who we saw a moment ago, you know what they're giving away in the ballpark today, which I love? You remember the thing with Beltre earlier this year with the on-deck circle?
Yeah.
Dragging it around, moving it around, and ultimately getting ejected. Giving away Adrian Beltre mouse pads today. I don't know who in the marketing department here with the Rangers came up with that, but it's a good one. And it's a ball and 2 strikes now to Nomar Mazara.
Now going all the way back to spring training and seeing this club up close and the fun they had in spring training and the atmosphere they have in their clubhouse, a lot of it goes through Beltre, and you know he's dying not being able to play.
There was some talk, Ken Rosenthal, that some of the Rangers players felt like he was trying to come back by the end of the year. What's the latest on that?
Well, they were almost dismissive last week when we were here about Beltre's injury, saying, he'll be back, he'll DH, he'll do something. He just loves it too much, can't stay away. But I talked to Beltre yesterday, and he was rather discouraged. He said they've initially said 4 to 6 weeks, but it's coming along really slowly. He's hoping he'll get over the hump and then maybe make rapid progress, but right now he is not terribly optimistic about coming back before the end of the season.
Boy, what a shot in the arm it would be if he was able to come back at some point during the season, or maybe even in a postseason series, should the Rangers get there. And there's ball 4 to Mazara. 3rd walk of the afternoon by Severino. Well, this whole weekend is celebrating the 3,000 hit accomplishment by Adrian Beltre. They were walking him down the red carpet yesterday. Presented him with a signed bag from hit number 3,000. Elvis Andrus rolled out in a space vehicle.
They gave him that too?
I guess.
Nice.
I mean, what do you give the man who has everything? Something like that.
I guess so.
He probably stuck a couple of those mouse pads in his bag today as well. 3,035 and counting. Where do you go to have that serviced? See, as a pragmatist, I ask you that. Robinson tried to check his swing but went around, and it's a ball and a strike to Drew Robinson, who began the day on the bench but was called into duty when Carlos Gomez injured himself coming out of the box, trying to beat out an infield single in the 2nd. As again, Ken Rosenthal's report on Gomez's status, he rolled his right ankle and is being evaluated today.
By the way, the first thing I thought of when I saw that vehicle is A, can I get it on a golf course, and how many bags will it hold? I don't think they're going to let me have it on the golf course.
1-2 to Robertson is called strike 3. 8 strikeouts for Luis Severino, has scored a 6th, and the Yankees still trail 1-0. Sponsored by the Lincoln Continental. A 1-0 Rangers lead, top half of the 7th inning, and Andrew Cashner going back out there with 88 pitches under his belt this afternoon, creeping up on his season average, and with 3 guys capable of hitting the ball out of the ballpark in a 1-0 lead in the 7th. Castro, Judge, and Ellsbury.
And they've got the bullpen going because this is what I talked about earlier in the game. The 7th innings doesn't mean the 7th inning won't be great for him today. It just hasn't been on the year when he gets to this point and beyond.
Castro with a rocket just fouled into left. Oh, 0-2 to the New York second baseman, looking for his first hit in the series, hitless yesterday. 4 singles, and that's it on Cashner's watch this afternoon. 2 of them by Brett Gardner. And a strikeout to Castro for route number 1.
And see, it doesn't seem like much when you're watching at home going, wow, I mean, he just does a little bit. He started off with a cutter. He then threw a fastball that got fouled, and there's the other slider spin away from the plate. He stayed out of the heart of the plate. He's elevated where need be. There's Rodriguez and Claudio just in case. And he has been as good, just not as many strikeouts, obviously, as Severino. But right around his average for the year. What have we got, 4?
4 strikeouts, yeah. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk.
I did that without even looking at your sheet.
It's good.
I kept it.
I mean, this is what Cashner's been for the last 10+ starts. A ball and a strike to count to Aaron Judge. Sawed off, a comebacker for Cashner, and 2 quick outs to start the 7th.
This is kind of what I was talking about, and you see this softer contact of a guy who can hit it 500 feet, and he ends up hitting it about 61 feet off the end of the bat. But when I was talking about earlier the Yankees year, you go back just not too long ago, they had a 6-1 lead against the Orioles. And they were chasing the Red Sox less than 2 games back. They went on to lose that game. The Red Sox went on to win a 19-inning affair, and it really has been opposite sides since. And you go from chasing a known commodity and winning the division to now positioning your spot in the wild card and facing teams like Texas, who know they have to beat you to have a chance to make that wild card spot.
Ball and no strikes. The count to Jacoby Ellsbury, who's hitless, trying to extend a modest 6-game hitting streak today. You talk about keeping Aaron Judge with soft contact. Here are the actual numbers. His average exit velocity this year, speaking of Judge, 94 miles an hour off the bat. And that little saw shot that he just sent back to Cashner was hit at 75 miles an hour. Softer contact, not to mention less contact. I mean, Judge is now 9 for his last 53. And Cashner doing a nice job keeping him quiet this afternoon on 2 rather, hitless appearances and a walk. 3-0 pitch home to Ellsbury's in for a strike.
Make the pitch look like something other than what the hitter thinks, and that's how you get it off the end of the barrel or jam, break the handle.
Soft bouncer for Odor, and a 3-0 count that had some promise to yield a base runner for the Yankees turns into out number 3. Andrew Cashner's retired 7 in a row and on top 1-0. By Domino's, order online and track your order. And by the Hartford, when the unexpected strikes, the Hartford strikes back with small business insurance. A 1-0 lead for Andrew Cashner and the Rangers, and the big right-hander was splendid this afternoon, John.
He was. He kept the ball out of the barrel in the middle of the strike zone. He mixed it up just good enough. And he did a great job exposing some of the weaknesses that the Yankee hitters have. And when you're facing Severino, you know going into this it's going to be a tight game. You're not going to get many runs. And if you're lucky, you're able to scratch out one, and that's exactly what the Rangers did. They scratched out their only run with a hit, the first hit of the game, with 2 outs, and that's where we stand when you think about Severino and his dominance. 8 strikeouts, only 1 hit.
Budweiser game summary, and more strikeouts for Luis Severino, but he doesn't have the benefit of that run to work with. When we started this one today, we talked about Andrew Cashner and Luis Severino boasting 2 of the lowest American League ERAs since the 1st of July, and they have not disappointed here this afternoon.
They haven't, but you got to think about what the Rangers dugout's feeling like. This is a huge, huge game they could steal. I mean, going into it, they knew they had to fight against Severino, one of the best in the league. And if they can come away with a victory here, they not only get closer to that spot they want, but the teams that are in front of them, they get closer. The Yankees holding that top spot. Certainly, there's a few innings to go, but a 1-0 lead right now after a comeback victory last night by the Texas Rangers. Got to feel good at this point in the game.
Joey Gallo leads things off against Severino in the home half of the 7th. Gallo, Middlebrooks, and Odor. And a first pitch that sliced into the corner, just foul.
You know, we were talking about earlier Gallo and the home runs and the significance of it, right? Well, 17 games he's hit homers when the teams had the lead. 6 of them when the score's been tied. 14 when they've been behind. 1 home run in the late close category. So there's your dispersion of his homers on the year.
Back to the when have they come discussion that you and I were having earlier today. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Gallo here leading off the 7th. You know, you mentioned the American League wild card race, and it's not that it's not too soon to look at the wild card standings and start scoreboard watching for the teams in front of you. It's just too convoluted. There are too many teams to keep your eyes on, if that makes any sense. I mean, the Rangers are 2.5 back of the 2nd wild card spot, but they're only 4 behind the Yankees for the 1st wild card chair.
Here's the key, though, okay, when you're looking ahead, and I was a pitcher, so I had more time to look ahead, is the fact that you know the Yankees and the Twins are playing each other, and you're guaranteed to gain a game on one of them if you win. So that's why this series is so important. If you can get close enough to the Yankees, chop that number down, then your dream scenario is you hope one of those teams sweep the other, and you could pick up 3 games on that next team and land yourself in a playoff spot. There's so many different factors, and guys will lie and say that they're not watching the scoreboard or other teams, because the reality is you got to take care of business on hand on the field. I get all that, but you're looking.
Yeah, you're looking. So is Joey Gallo, looking at a called strike 3, and the strikeout for Severino is his 9th of the day. Well, we're looking at scores today, and there's only one other game in progress, and that's the Indians trying to win for the 17th consecutive time. We'll have an update with Mike Hill after we settle in here with Will Middlebrooks. And then later on, the teams that the Rangers and Yankees are being mindful of. Minnesota's in Kansas City. Got Jose Barrios on the mound today. The Angels playing late out west in Seattle with Andrew Heaney on the mound. Middlebrooks fouls off a 1-0 pitch. It's a ball and a strike.
And the reason they're so bunched together is the teams that are out in front, especially Houston and Cleveland, have been dominating their divisions for the most part. I know Cleveland has caught, as we mentioned, in this streak, but Houston has had a huge lead all year.
Houston playing in a doubleheader today. They've got 2 in Oakland.
Was there that rare rain out in Oakland?
Yeah.
Gosh.
From earlier this year. Yeah, there's been a rain out in Oakland. I think there was one in San Diego earlier this year.
The Dodgers played a doubleheader with San Diego.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Will Middlebrooks. Littlebrook scored the game's lone run in the 5th, and Severino takes care of him here in the 7th. And speaking of the Indians trying to make it 17 in a row, Mike Hill in Los Angeles with a game break. Mike.
Second baseman,
All right, Mike, again, Tribe trying to make it 17 straight. 10 strikeouts for Luis Severino today. With 2 gone, here's Odor, who's punched out once. For Luis Severino, this is his 5th 10-plus strikeout game. First Yankee with that many in a season since Masahiro Tanaka in his first season stateside back in 2014. New York bullpen is hot with David Robertson up. Ball and 2 strikes to Rougned Odor. When the Yankees bat in the 8th, they'll have Frazier, Bird, and Gardner. You start eyeballing when Sanchez and Gregorius will have what could be their final opportunities. That would come in the 9th.
I'd climb the ladder again on a fastball, see what they do.
Popped onto the vacated left side of the field, and Gregorius had to get all the way out there. The Yankees had Odor in the shift, and it turns into a 1-2-3 inning for Severino. Still, however, trailing 1-0. Earlier with Fox NFL Kickoff with Carissa Thompson, Tony Gonzalez, Dave Wanstead, Colin Cowherd, and Michael Vick covering all the latest NFL breaking news and updates. Fox NFL Kickoff every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And as we mentioned, it's the Giants and Cowboys across the street, if you will, at AT&T Stadium to start the NFL season tomorrow. And on the first pitch from Andrew Cashner to Todd Frazier in the 8th, a hit batsman puts the tying run aboard. Didn't even really give us a chance to set up the fact that Cashner's going out there for the 8th. He's gone as far as 8 innings only once all year, and it appears that that one pitch, and that's going to be all.
Yeah, not what he thought would be his time to exit when he's been in command all night, all day. He hit one batter.
Texas native leaves to a nice ovation after 7 shutout innings. Bullpen trying to hold his 1-0 lead. We'll be right back. The 1st of July in what's turned into a series of dominant starts. 7+ this afternoon, scatters 4 singles, leaves unscored upon, though 1 is his responsibility aboard. 4 strikeouts and a single walk. This quick working left-hander Alex Claudio is selected to work in relief behind him. And pinch hitting for the Yankees in place of Greg Bird, the right-handed hitting power threat Matt Holliday.
Sinking sidearm fastball, curveball, changeup. Won't believe how slow he throws his changeup. See the fastball at 86. Very tough, obviously, on left-handers, but he's not afraid, as most guys in this position will be labeled a specialist, but he'll face the right-handers as well.
Matt Holliday got a start yesterday, 1 for 4 in the loss. That one's into right field, a base hit. Frazier to second. He's going to take the turn and head for third. He'll be there in front of the throw, and here come the Yankees in the top of the 8th.
Takes one of those sinkers and goes the other way. And Holliday comes in, pinch hits, will be pinch run 4, and now the Yankees really about the only real scoring chance they've had here in the 8th.
Holliday does his job off the bench, and Tyler Wade comes on to pinch run for him. New York has the tying and go-ahead runs aboard with nobody out. Brett Gardner, the batter. He's been responsible for 2 of the 5 Yankee hits in this one. And this is a matchup a little more suited for Alex Claudio, who is at his best against left-handed hitting.
Yeah, It also is a good matchup for the Yankees, though, if you put it in play. Tough to double up, and they can't really cut down the runner at home. So for Gardner, if he can put it in play to any of the middle infielders, I'm sure the Yankees would trade a potential double play to tie the game up.
The switch hitter Chase Headley waiting on deck with nobody out. Oh, and 2 to Brett Gardner. The splits on Alex Claudio are as follows: 128 against left-handed hitting, 288 against right-handed bats. So you'll have Headley digging in from the right side next if in fact Claudio sticks around to pitch to him.
This just looks like it would be something sweeping away. Throw his slider.
Nicholas sets up way outside. Popped him up. 1 away.
That's exactly what he went to, and really Gardner can only try to protect against a sweeping, unorthodox angle that he's looking at, lefty on lefty, and a great pop-up. Gardner knows exactly what that means. It's up to Headley now. And now the Rangers can play straight up double play depth if they can induce a ground ball, wiggle out of this inning.
Chase Headley this afternoon has lined into a double play on a well hit ball to center field, singled and popped to third.
I know this won't happen because it's the American League and it's a new style, but the play you cannot defend against, impossible, is this situation right here. First and third, you push bunt between the first baseman and the pitcher, and the runner at third reads it, can't stop it, tie the game, but everyone's trying to hit the 3-run homer.
Headley is a very good bunter as he takes a strike.
It's not defensible. If that's executed, you can't defend, and I've never understood why, when something is undefendable, why they don't try it more often.
Chase Headley is also the Yankees' best hitter in the 7th inning or later, batting .311 from the 7th inning on this year.
Headley, you see the numbers with runners in scoring position.
Frazier at third, Wade the runner at first, and Headley sends a fly ball to center field. That's going to be enough to tie the ball game as Frazier tags up to come on and score. And the great 7+ innings by Andrew Cashner will not yield a decision as the Yankees get on the board in the 8th.
Well, you see how he hung it, and he knew it as soon as he threw it. He hung it to a place where you could elevate and do exactly that, drive in a run without getting a hit. Headley knows he just missed that one as well.
And now real potential trouble in the bat of Gary Sanchez. Sanchez this afternoon has popped out, struck out, and grounded to shortstop. That on the heels of a 2-for-3 opener yesterday. The left-handed hitting Didi Gregorius waiting next. It's a bit of a dice roll for the Rangers. That's a full bullpen. I mean, there are plenty of options. We're in September. Deep bullpens all around Major League Baseball. Yet it's the left-hander, the finesse left-hander, that'll try to get Gary Sanchez out with the go-ahead run on board. There's nobody up.
I don't think he needs to worry about the runner at first, because if he were to steal, they just walk Sanchez and pitch to Didi, where the left's on. We're going to give you the statistics. Lefties hitting off of Claudio.
Texas bullpen held up magnificently yesterday, as you can see. Sanchez holds up. 3 balls and no strikes. More robust line against right-handed hitting for his career, that in many more opportunities. That's beaten on the ground past Andrews, on into left. So Gary Sanchez swinging 3-0, moves the line along. Runners at first and second now. So now Gregorius, who has been the Yankees' best hitter with runners in scoring position. He's been the Yankees' best hitter with runners in scoring position and 2 out. And he's been better on the road than he has in the Bronx this year. A situation that's played into Joe Girardi's hands in a potentially nice method. Doug Brocail comes out to chat with Claudio. That is really fresh activity. Nick Gardwine just got up. So this is going to be Gregorius versus Claudio with the go-ahead run in scoring position. Didi with runners in scoring position and 2 away, a .314 hitter this year. Again, that's the best mark on the club. Boy, it's been a mix and match bullpen for the Rangers, John, and 1-run games have not been really kind to them. Chopper into the shifted defense, and the shift works. The Yankees do push across the tying run, but settle with just that 1 score. Whole new storyline going to the bottom of the 8th, even at 1 apiece. By Cricket Wireless, something to smile about. And by E-Trade. E-Trade, the original place to invest online. MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Well, back with Ken Rosenthal and John Smoltz. Matt Vasgersian, a new storyline, a 1-1 ball game, and a new pitcher for New York. The veteran right-hander David Robertson takes over here in the last of the 8th.
Well, in a battle of bullpens now, it certainly does favor the Yankees, even though they're the road team. Got a lot of ability to shut you down with some power. David Robertson's not much of the prototypical 95, 98 mile an hour guy, but a lot of cutters and curveballs. And a lot of experience being in the position he's in.
Number 9 batter Brett Nicholas, then the top of the order DeShields and Chu, and it was Brett Nicholas that delivered the Rangers' one and only run with a two-out RBI double in the 5th. New first baseman as Tyler Austin takes over for Greg Bird, who was pinch hit for last half inning. 0-2 quickly to the catcher Brett Nicholas. So these one-run game numbers are pretty ugly for both teams. In fact, among American League clubs, none have lost more one-run games than the Yankees. Yet the overall winning percentage in one-run games by the Rangers is a little worse. And there's a swing and a miss, and a 3-pitch strikeout starts things for Robertson in the 8th.
Well, that's the one thing that many who think they can predict have gotten it right. With the Rangers' success last year in the one-run games, I believe it was last year, a lot didn't think, many thought that it would not be able to be duplicated. And so far they've been correct on this year. For the Yankees, though, that's the strangeness that I talked about to the year that they've had, because much to that game they blew on the 6-1 lead, and Betances 2 outs and I think 2 strikes to Machado, and he hit a 2-run homer, so that gave him a 1-run loss, which goes against that, goes right along with what you were saying.
Here's DeShields now. He's been held hitless today so far. I mean, that is some decline last year. In fact, since the 1900 season, only one team has had that kind of a regression that is, in one-run games, and that was the 1934 and 35 Boston Braves. So we could pretend like we knew all about that club. We'll spare you that and tell you that the Rangers drop off in one-run games is significant. Now 6 pitches and 2 quick outs from Robertson, though DeShields makes that close with his great wheels. And there are 2 gone.
Yeah, Robertson hung a pitch right in the middle of the zone, but he got him to ground it to Didi. And as you said, DeShields made this look close. Fat pitch right on the outside part there, and just in the nick of time.
Two-way base is empty now for Shin-Soo Choo. You know, and it's more than just the lack of having a defined 9th inning closer that has led to that problem in one-run games. Although, you know, not having that shutdown guy certainly has been a big part of it. I mean, the mysterious drop-off of Sam Dyson this year, which led ultimately to his being released, is one of the stranger stories in baseball, I think. A ground ball to second base and a really quick 1-2-3 8th for David Robertson. Castro, Judge, and Ellsbury to bat the 9th in a 1-1 tie. Well, Alex, Claudio continues in the ninth as the Yankees have Castro, Judge, and Ellsbury in a 1-1 ball game. A run on 6 hits for New York, 1 run on 1 hit for the Texas Rangers this afternoon, and a breaking ball is good for a strike to Starlin Castro. Castro hitless in the series so far, 0 for 7 between last night and today's. That's into right field, a base hit. Go ahead run aboard to start the top of the ninth. Time for Gatorade. Every ounce counts, and every little base hit was a part of this 8th inning rally that tied the game. First, Todd Frazier was hit by a pitch, then the pinch hitter Matt Holliday singled. Runners at the corners, and Chase Headley delivered the sac fly in a manufactured run good enough to even the game in the 8th. Here's Aaron Judge now, quiet this afternoon, 0 for 2 with a base on balls.
The approach you have to have sometimes against a guy like this is what the last 2 hits have been for the Yankees. Go the other way, take what he gives you. Matt Holliday did it. Castro did it.
To 2-0 now. Judge has hit for a much better average against right-handed pitchers this year. He's tied up that time. It's 2-1. 290 versus right-handers, 224 against southpaws like Alex Claudio.
It doesn't seem like that would be the numbers you would think, because he's done all his damage against right-handers via the home run. That's amazing. Well, there's not a ton of left-handers in the game today, but was it 32 home runs against right-handed pitching this year?
There it is, as opposed to 7 against southpaws, and again far more plate appearances against right-handed pitching. It's the drop-off against the breaking ball that is perhaps most problematic in the second half, falling out for Judge. He fouls that one away. Before the All-Star break, he hit .289 against breaking balls with a .588 slugging percentage. Since the break, 107 against breaking pitches. And all the other numbers are down as well. Slugging, his chase percentage is up. Two-two pitch is grounded to third. Middlebrooks to Odor, and the throw brings Gallo off the bag. Checking in at second base too. I'm not sure that Odor stayed on the bag to get the out there. Everybody's safe. But the ball was at second in time to get Castro. Let's watch what happened.
Yeah, I think he touched the bag. I think he had the bag, and then easily had the bag. And so.
And finally, Castro is being told, yeah, they got you at second. Wishful thinking that Odor had come off the bag too soon. So they do get an out on the play. It's Judge at first base with 1 away now for Jacoby Ellsbury.
This would have been an easy decision for Joe Girardi had there been first and second, nobody out. You can pretty much know that Ellsbury would have been bunting. That's a tough left-handed version of Claudio.
Wow, it's a tough take. Looks like a pretty good slider. And it's 2 balls and no strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury. Three and 0 now.
I always felt this inning, this was going to be his last batter. And Claudio
Todd Frazier waiting on deck. 1 out, 1 on, 3 balls and no strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury. 3-1 now. This is Jacoby Ellsbury at his best, as you see Frazier, who's hitless today. A notorious count worker, something that the Yankees have done well as a lineup all year long and do so annually. To a full count now, 3-2.
Well, if he has confidence in his slider, this is when you go to it. He worked his way back into the count, 3-2. See what Joe does with Judge. I wouldn't think he would send him.
Castro single. Judge reaches on a fielder's choice play. 1 out, 1 on, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury in a 1-1 game.
Oh, very interesting choice. Fastball in to a left-handed hitter. Room for error is really slim on a 3-2 count in a tie game in the 9th.
This will be the 7th pitch of the plate appearance.
Pick it.
You know, back to what the Yankees do to wear down an opponent's pitching staff. They average almost 4 pitches per plate appearance, which might not sound like a lot, but that's actually the 3rd highest number among all major league teams. The Yankees have been good at that as far back as I can remember, at least. Still a full count to Ellsbury. The next 3-2. Lined into right field, a base hit. Judge to third as the go-ahead run with 1 away in the top of the 9th. What a fine plate appearance by Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yeah, good plate appearance, but he stayed stubborn with that fastball in the left-handed hitter. I just thought there was a chance if he had confidence at all in his slider. It stayed with that sinker, and Ellsbury stayed on it. Really not much of a chance for Gallo, and that's going to be it for Claudio.
An 8-pitch at bat, and Ellsbury survives it. Runners at first and third with 1 gone. The second Rangers pitching change of the afternoon, and we'll be right back. with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com At Bat today. Well, Ricky Rodriguez inherits a tough spot. Runners at first and third, a 1-1 ball game. One gone for Todd Frazier.
Pitches out of a close. See how closed he is with his front side. Creates an angle against the hitter. Over the top fastball. It looks like a short arm delivery to the hitter, and then he's got a slider to go with it. When thrown well, that pitch disappears down, but he starts with a real closed, abbreviated out of the stretch to a right-handed hitter. Looks like the ball's coming out of his ear.
Rodriguez had a nice outing last night against the Yankees, so working in back-to-back games and quickly in front of Frazier. 0-2. Faced 4 batters yesterday, retired all 4 of them, and that outing came on the heels of having allowed 5 earned runs over an inning and a third in his previous 2. Judge the go-ahead run at third. Ellsbury at first. 0-2 to Frazier.
There's the slider. When he's that closed, I would think the younger version of Ellsbury would really have a distinctive advantage to steal second. Hard to throw the ball to first base from that position.
You saw the runners in scoring position numbers for Frazier. It's an area where he has struggled this year. There goes the runner, and Frazier's hit by the pitch again. Boy, Claudio came up and in, and Todd had nowhere to go. That with Ellsbury breaking off the bag, and just when it appeared as though Rodriguez had the at-bat finished off, the Yankees catch a break, although a painful one for Frazier.
Cashner gets him, and then this one is not going to feel any better, but he had him with 2 strikes, and Ellsbury did take off, had the base stolen, but moot point now with the bases loaded. Not much room for error now. I'm sure that's what they're talking about now. Execute the pitches, get him to hit the ball on the ground, and you got a double play and get out of here.
What an opportunity now for Tyler Austin. Austin came up from AAA Scranton on Tuesday, his 3rd stint with the major league team this year. It's been an injury-marred campaign for him. Fractured ankle, a hamstring strain. First pitch to Austin, misses down low. 3 different call-ups this year for Tyler. Judge, Ellsbury, and Frazier aboard. Austin to left, a base hit that'll bring in Judge with the go-ahead score. It's 2-1 Yankees. The first lead of the day for New York, and it comes here in the top of the 9th inning.
Slider over the middle of the plate. He stays back and lines it to left field. Hits it hard enough to where they couldn't really attempt to get aggressive with the second run scoring.
So now Brett Gardner, who's got a couple of hits today. Oh, 1 to Gardner with the bases still loaded and a run in.
The football game tomorrow brought some New York fans to the stadium here, and they've been loud in the 9th inning.
Yeah, there is a definite New York feel in the ballpark today. It's a Yankee team, John, as we know, that not unlike the Rangers, does most of its scoring via the home run ball. They've got 9 hits today, all of them singles.
Yeah, rare hit batsman, and he sparked both rallies by the same guy.
Todd Frazier both times. Gardner sends a fly ball into shallow left. Out at the cutout is Andrus. That keeps everybody put, and there are 2 away. But those are 2 tough at-bats for Brett Gardner, where a fly ball could score a run. He popped out to the catcher in the 8th and pops out to shortstop here in the 9th. So it'll be up to Chase Headley again. He drove in the tying run with a sac fly in the 8th, batting right-handed, back to the left side of the plate here. And Rodriguez gets the high strike. Would you believe this is the 3rd game this season where the Yankees have had a 9-hit game, all of them being singles?
Doesn't seem possible.
I know it. And one of them was a win against the Red Sox in late April, and then recently a loss against the Orioles just a few days ago. Aroldis Chapman is up in the Yankee bullpen. And I know you visited with Joe Girardi about his closer situation before the game.
Yeah, and they feel better about Chapman and the adjustments he's made to get back to what they believe is going to be his successful role and the success he's had in the past. Getting on top of the baseball, getting behind the baseball, and more backspin rather than cut spin. And that just tells me fatigue, arm angle, the physical parts of the game were starting to get to him a little bit.
Situation about to get to Rodriguez. He is a ball away from walking in a run. A run in, bases loaded, 2 away, 3 balls and a strike to Chase Headley. We talked about how good Headley's been in the 7th inning on. The team best .311 batting average late in games. The 3-1. And he walked in a run. Two big RBIs for Chase Headley down the stretch in this one. And in neither instance did he have a base hit. A sac fly in the 8th, a bases loaded walk in the 9th. Good enough for 2 big RBIs. Another Texas pitching change, and we'll be right back. 2 away in the top of the 9th, looking for more. Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. You just saw Todd Frazier smiling, but it didn't come without some teeth gnashing moments. He was hit by a pitch in the 8th, scored the tying run on a sac fly by Chase Headley, and then Frazier again hit by a pitch in the 9th. And coming around to score the go-ahead run on the base hit by Tyler Austin.
Doesn't seem possible that could happen in back-to-back scenarios, but now Sanchez an opportunity to really break it open.
Gary Sanchez now with the bases loaded and a big-time bat throw on the first pitch from the reliever Nick Gardenwine.
There's a 50-50 chance a Yankee guy will get it. Oh, yep, he did.
And a 100% chance that he's not going to give it back. You think that guy's going to give that bat back? Just take a look at the picture. Drink that. Take that in for a second. No chance.
Garwine is fastball over the top, 94. He's got a changeup that acts like a split. And a slider. There's a funky angle at release as well.
0-1 to Sanchez, grounded to third base. Middlebrooks will go the short way, not before 2 runs can score to give the Yankees a 9th inning lead. Last chance for the Rangers, down for the first time in this one. It's 3-1 New York. Yankees and Rangers started play today, vying for wild card life in the postseason, and with so many teams still involved, the hunt for October changes every moment. It was the Rangers with a 1-0 lead until the Yankees tied it in the 9th and went ahead with 1 in the 8th and 2 in the 9th. And this is the updated look at the wild card standings, with much of the activity later on tonight. The Yankees a 1.5 lead on the Twins. They are the 2 wild card possessors, and Texas was looking at an opportunity to really shave into that deficit. They're down to their last chance to try to do so, now trailing for the first time today. It'll be Aroldis Chapman with his first save opportunity since August 15th.
Yeah, he's back where he feels comfortable, and they're hoping for New York that is a recipe of success for a long, deep run into October. Getting behind the ball, to explain what I was talking about, creating backspin is where your 2 fingers are on top of the baseball when you deliver it. What makes him special is not only does he throw hard, but the ball explodes to the hitter. And when you get on the side of the ball, you create a little bit more of an average fastball where the hitter can pick it up a little bit easier.
Elvis Andrus, the first to hit in the 9th inning for Texas. Andrus, then Mazara and Robinson. Chapman's last 2 appearances have been good ones, and they came after having 6 days off. 4 strikeouts, only 1 hit allowed in 2 scoreless innings. 99-mile-an-hour fastball taken for a strike. Just in case, Dellin Betances, who has experienced his share of trouble trying to close out games, is up in the bullpen. A ball and 2 strikes to Elvis Andrus. Cleveland Indians are 3 outs away from extending their franchise best winning streak to 17. They have a 4-2 9th inning lead over the Orioles. In fact, that one just ended. 17 in a row for Cleveland. We're showing you that picture for a reason. Yankee fan here being attended to. Remember, we showed you the shot of that guy with the Mantle jersey? That guy who got the Aaron Judge bat that was thrown into the stands, and we said no chance he gives that up. Well, he gave it up to her because that young lady was actually hit by the bat. I didn't think there was any chance this guy was giving that up. How jacked he is. Good man. Good for him. Over Chapman, if you can believe it. Castro with a quick hands throw to first in time to get him by a half a step.
I don't think so. I saw it live. I don't know. This would be great footwork if he was able to keep his foot on the bag, but I'm sure the Yankees are going to want to look at it. See if we can tell here. Got rid of it quick. But man, it sure looked like he took his foot off the bag to catch it. But he didn't, I don't think. Wow.
I think you're right. I think
that's what happens when you see it live. He was trying to get his feet situated.
This one's going to stand.
It is. At least the early call might look that way.
Jeff Bannister will review it.
Yeah, he has nothing to lose. I mean, you gotta take a chance and see if there's something, a different angle that might indicate otherwise. But see, that's where he got his feet. And from when you're watching it live, and we're watching this slow motion, it looked like that foot had come up in the air to make that catch. But watching it slow, doesn't look like that's the case.
Be awfully tough to overturn that. In fact, for our money, impossible.
There's a better view. When he first hit it, I thought he was going to beat it out. But Castro makes a nice exchange and quick release.
I can't believe the noise that Yankee fans are making in the ballpark. The call was upheld and you heard a cheer, and then you had to remind yourself that you were actually in Arlington. This is like when the Cubs play in Milwaukee and there's more support for the visiting team there.
I really think a lot of it, I mean, obviously has to do with the football game.
Yeah.
Taking in 2 for 1.
Right. One gone now for Nomar Mazara. Yeah, the fastball catches the corner. Mazara with 2 strikeouts and a walk on his line today. Has not been held hitless in 4+ games. As far as the other wild card teams in the American League tonight, Tampa Bay's in Boston with Matt Andriese matching up against Chris Sale. We talked about Baltimore having lost in Cleveland. The Indians win their 17th in a row. The Angels are in Seattle with Andrew Heaney on the mound. Twins in Kansas City. Jose Barrios looking for win number 13.
Rangers will be Royals fans if they can't come back in this game.
Mazara just gets a piece of the 1-2 fastball to stay alive. A ball and 2 strikes.
That's a tough task right there. 102 up above the belt. Usually is a recipe for failure for most hitters.
If the score holds, the decision will be among bullpen pitchers. Despite the fact that Luis Severino was great today, and so was Andrew Cashner. A swing and a miss by Mazara. That is vintage Chapman. And there are 2 gone in the ninth.
And the pitch that's starting to come around for him is this dirty slider after throwing 102. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to move. And the hitter from the left side probably says that's not fair. But Chapman, one of the best at striking guys out, even though this year his numbers have been down. Spent some time on the DL. He's a weapon that the Yankees had last year, traded away, and re-signed this year.
Mike Napoli was a non-starter today, meaning he will pinch it with 2 gone here in the ninth. Another robust power year for Napoli, though the batting average has dipped to below 200 this season, batting just 194 at the start of play. And Texas is down to its final strike today. You got to go back a ways to find the Yankees' last combined 1-hitter on the road. June 27, 2009 at Citi Field. A.J. Burnett, Brian Bruni, and David Robertson, who was a part of things here today. And that'll do it. The Yankees don't score till the 8th. 1 to tie it, 2 to win it in the 9th. They limit the Rangers to a run on 1 hit and even up the series at 1 win apiece. The current AL wildcard standings: the Yankees with a 2-game lead for the first year over Minnesota. Texas 3 behind the Twins for the second wildcard spot. For John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian thanking you for joining us. Coming up next, we'll send it to Rob Stone in the college football studio right after this message.